to the wide receiver group here.
Because I know this is all you really care about.
Oh, it's interesting. So, yeah, Stefan Diggs last year, probably maybe the surprise of last year in drafts.
I would say so.
I mean, he exploded with Josh Allen. They seem like best buds out there. Stefan Diggs is just like one of those like awesome players, it looks like, for a team. Just everyone's hype guy. Seems like he's pretty funny. But, yeah, I mean, third overall last year at the wide receiver position in 16 games. And the strange part was just the incredible volume he saw week after week after week.
Mm-hmm.
You want to?
I thought you were going to go into the volume. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Stefan Diggs, I think, was one of those guys that most people were drafting really late.
Yeah, you probably went around like 7th round usually,
if not later. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's crazy, and just to see him finish where he did, kind of what we said, or I know I was thinking this in the offseason last year before the season started, is he wanted to leave Minnesota and be the guy.
Yeah.
He wanted that. He did not want to have to fight for a number 2 spot or a number 1 spot. He wanted to be the guy. Well, he did it.
Yeah, he averaged over 10 targets a game.
Yeah.
Had 166 targets last year.
I keeps defaulting me to these stinking playoff stats. But yes, I mean, his targets were almost Michael Thomas type.
Yeah.
You know, like that's the amount of targets he was getting, and he did not get that many ever in Minnesota.
No.
He had 127 receptions. I think the most he had in Minnesota was like around 90.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think he hit 100. He had 8 touchdowns, which was incredible. His yards per reception was pretty good at 12.1, and he still had 1,500 yards.
Yeah.
So not only was he getting downfield, he is and we've said this before, he's a really good route runner.
He can do everything. Yeah,
he can do everything. And I think even with the offseason moves, bringing in Emmanuel Sanders, they still have Cole Beasley there as well that we'll kind of talk about. I still think he's going to be the dominant number 1.
Oh, yeah. No, that's
and I
no
still
question.
think him and Josh Allen are just going to have the greatest of times.
Yeah.
Like, I don't see that changing.
Yeah. Yeah, they'll be one of the top quarterback wide receiver duos next year if you're looking to stack in drafts or if you can get a value on them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Because I think Stefan Diggs, I mean, after the season he just had, he's not going round 7 or 8. We know that.
No.
Where do you think he's going? Back 1?
3. No, not that high.
Not
Third.
Even early 2?
No.
You think the 3rd round?
Yeah.
I don't know about that. I think he'll go before the 3rd. I mean, what wide receivers are you taking over him right now then? Because I feel like he's going to be one of the top 3 wide receivers off the board.
I would take Devontae Adams.
Even with no Rodgers.
Well, okay, that's a mate. Okay, right now we're assuming Rodgers is still there.
I'm not assuming that. I'm actually assuming Rodgers won't be there.
Change the player by 1. Okay. Devontae Adams.
Okay.
I'm counting him.
Okay, that's fine.
Tyreek Hill, I'm counting him. DeAndre Hopkins, I'm counting him. Then you start getting into, I'll probably take A.J. Brown over him.
Dude.
Calvin Ridley. That's a debate.
That is going to be a debate.
Because I think Justin Jefferson's around there. I think DK Metcalf is around there. I think it all depends. But when your first round is
heavily running
80% running backs, your second round's 50% running backs, I think there's only a couple spots up there for wide receivers. So that's why I think maybe back second, early third.
I'll go with some of those. Some of those I don't like, but some of them I do. So that makes sense.
Do you not like?
We don't have to discuss that now. Okay. We got all that crap coming later.
Yeah, cool.
All right, so let's look at Emmanuel Sanders. So keep in mind, guys, he did not play Buffalo last season.
Nope.
If you forgot, he did play with the Saints.
And it wasn't that impressive. And I kind of think this is just a one-year move, and I'm really not excited about Emmanuel Sanders in Buffalo. I think he's going to end up being the bridge for another Buffalo wide receiver who I like, Gabriel Davis. I think it's just a buffer year until Gabriel Davis is able to take over that other outside wide receiver position for the team. But I think Cole Beasley stays in the slot, and I think Cole Beasley will probably be the number 2 you're looking at this year.
Yeah, when I look at Emmanuel Sanders, I mean, even in...
He's getting really old. He still has the outrageous injury concerns, and he's just less and less. At his peaks, he was incredible, but he's been in the league for a long time, man.
Yeah, I mean, he only saw 81 targets last year, 61 receptions, and when you watch Saints games, though, like I remember watching, like Michael Thomas was hurt.
Yeah.
And the first thing I'm sitting here thinking, like, dude, Sanders is going to just step up like that. He didn't.
Yeah. I mean,
he still didn't
caught
really
the ball,
do much.
He caught the ball 61 times, ended up with 5 touchdowns. I think that might be something he can play in Buffalo, be somewhat of a red zone weapon.
Right.
But I don't know.
I mean,
I think Diggs is going to be such a dominant number one in that offense, and I think Cole Beasley is going to be his safety blanket. I'm just not super excited about Emmanuel Sanders.
I mean, if you were looking for a depth play and you were looking at one of these 2 wide receivers, would you take a chance on Cole Beasley or would you go with Emmanuel Sanders?
I'd go Cole Beasley.
Cole Beasley only had 4 touchdowns last season, had around the same amount of receptions.
Yeah, but he saw 107 targets.
No, he didn't. I'm sorry. He had 82 receptions and Diggs only had 61, right? Yeah. Or Sanders had 61.
And Cole Beasley was a little volatile last year. There were some games where he didn't do anything and some games where he exploded. Which I think it's just going to be more of the same, but I would still think Cole Beasley's going to be the better play.
Yeah, I mean, there's games where he had 3 receptions, he had 5 receptions, he had 2 receptions. Then he's had games where he's had 11 receptions. Yep. And it's just like, okay, well, let's have more of those.
I think John Brown at this point of their careers is the better receiver than Emmanuel Sanders. So I'm expecting less out of that positional spot than they got last year.
Okay. Well, talk about Gabriel Davis, because I'm sure not a lot of people have really been paying attention to him.
Last year he was a rookie, and he didn't see a ton of targets or anything, but he was able to show some flashes of his talent. Big plays. I think is able, if they allow him to mature on the outside and be their number 2 wide receiver.
Okay. You think he's going to go undrafted and redraft, though?
Yeah, probably.
So this is more of a dynasty play?
Yeah, he's a dynasty guy, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm not as familiar with him. I didn't really pay attention to Gabriel Davis. But, coming out of UCF, love that college, by the way. The Knights, their logo looks so cool.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he had 35 receptions on 61 targets, which isn't terrible, almost 600 yards. The one thing that I really like is,
7 touchdowns.
Well, 7 touchdowns, and his yards per reception was 17.1.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's high.
Yeah.
I mean, he's getting downfield, man. So that's actually really exciting. But yeah, 7 touchdowns is insane. So, yeah, you could be absolutely right. I think he might be. You know what, dude? What do you think if they just brought in Emmanuel Sanders to groom him?
That's
just
kind of
basically that veteran presence. He's not actually.
They signed him to a 1-year deal. It's not worth a ton of money. I think it was like $6 million. I think he will be the starter this year in that positional spot.
You think so?
But I think it'll be a decent mix. But yeah, if I was taking a shot in a dynasty league on a guy you could get pretty cheap, Gabriel Davis would probably be one of those guys.
Is he on your dynasty roster?
No, he's not.
Whose roster is he on?
I think Brian's.
That's disappointing. Brian probably has no clue who he is.
Possibly. Until you try trading for him.
Yeah, and then let's just see how it works out.
Thank you so much for watching the Fantasy Monsters on YouTube. If you liked our video today, please subscribe to our channel. Hit the little bell icon. Get notified whenever we go live or post other videos. You can see the link below. You can click on previous videos. You can also leave comments below. We'd love to hear from you guys as well. And we'll catch you next week.
Have a go.